Hey y'all, Rambino here, coming at you from wonderful feeling, not too hot, not too cold, North Carolina, where hopefully we're getting just a touch of fall coming up because the temperatures are great here. I hope they're great where you're at. If you're new to this channel, we're here all about building the hiker community, especially for the 2019 Appalachian Trail through hikers. So the best way to do that is subscribe to this channel, hit that bell to get the notifications, and then go over to my Facebook page at Rambino Roaming the Trails, and there you'll find a complete list of Appalachian Trail through hikers that are hiking the trail this year. And then you can go to their blogs and you can comment, support them all the way to Katahdin, and a lot of them have already finished their trip, but then the Sobos are just getting started good, so they're coming down south, and the flip-floppers. So I hope you'll do that, help me build the hiker community. So let's go ahead and talk about the registrations. Right now, Harper's Ferry on Nobo, of course, all the pure Nobo have already come through there, and we're somewhere around 1,600 folks that have come through there and registered at Harper's Ferry. We've only had one Sobo as of the middle of this week that has made it to Harper's Ferry. So Sobos are a little different on their registrations. You'll recall that in earlier videos that they can register down at Amicalola Falls, which is the approach trail to the southern terminus of the Appalachian Trail, down at Springer Mountain. And they can register there and then get their bag tags immediately, or with a trail runner anywhere on the trail, or they can wait till they get to Harper's Ferry. However, Sobos can't register at the beginning of the trail. It's my understanding that up at the ranger station at Baxter State Park, they don't have the tags up there. So if you want to register Sobo and get your tag, and of course you can register online, and then you can wait till you get to Monson, or hook up with a trail runner somewhere between Baxter State Park and Monson. And as you can on the Nobo hike, you can get your bag tag down at Harper's Ferry. And as far as flip-floppers, we've had over 300 folks that have registered for flip-floppers down at Harper's Ferry, and they're in different places on the trail depending on how they want to do their flip-floppers. So those are the registrations. Now on to some really neat news about the folks that we're tracking that have summited over this past week. G-Pack and B-Pack from Pack Adventures, they summited this past week, and they were number 299 and 300 as they summited Baxter State Park. That was their registration number. At Springer, they started out 2,093 and 2,094, and at Harper's Ferry, when they came through, they were 613 and 614. So that kind of gives you an idea of the attrition rate. Of course, I'm sure that they've probably passed some folks along the way as well, but more than likely, most of those folks have dropped out. Sarah from the Sarah Hikes NH channel, and also her children's channel, Maddie's AT Adventures, she summited this week. Don't know her number, but congratulations to her. And that's awesome, Sarah, and awesome for your children's channel that you're doing there to help educate the kids about the Appalachian Trail. And then True or False summited, and they double congratulations goes out to them, because not only did they summit, but they got engaged at the summit in front of that sign. So awesome way to end an adventure and awesome way to start an adventure. So congratulations, True or False, to that. And then we had left off from a couple weeks back. Denali summited on August 10th with his son Jared, so congratulations to them as well. Those are the only folks that I'm aware of that have summited that we've been tracking. Folks that we're not tracking, if you'd like to be included in our summit updates, then please send me your pictures, or at least just let me know that you summited. We'd like to know your registration numbers as well as you pick those up at Baxter State Park. So look forward to getting those from you. We want to include everybody that we can, everybody that's part of the hiker community. We want to include you in this. Congratulations, and what a great accomplishment in your life. The weather report for this upcoming week, starting in Dalton, Massachusetts, it's going to be in the mid-80s the first of the week. You look like you're going to have a pretty good chance of thunderstorms on Mondays, and then the highs in the mid-70s throughout the week during the day, and the low 50s at night. Humidity is still going to be pretty high. It's going to be around the high 60s or 70s, so it's still going to be fairly muggy out there. Gorham, New Hampshire, if you're in that area, you're going to have the mid to high 80s the first of the week, and then cold front kind of comes through and it drops down into the 70s by the end of the week. and you're going to have a thunderstorm on Monday, or a good chance of one on Monday, and then again on Wednesday and 30. And again, your humidity stays fairly high as well. Monson, Maine, you're going to be in the high 80s, and a couple day or two you're going to actually be in the low 90s until midweek, when it's that cool front's going to hit you, and it's going to drop down into the high 70s. So that's a 20-degree drop. That's pretty significant. You're going to have a good chance of thunderstorms Monday and Wednesday, and your humidity is going to run pretty high as well. I've talked to quite a few folks that are up in that area, and it's getting chilly at night, particularly when it's in the 70s or 80s during the day, and then it gets down into the 50s at night. So those folks say they are glad they've got those puffies. A lot of people have already switched out their winter gear, even though they are not needing just pure winter, but it's getting chilly enough at night to some folks like that chill, particularly you're just not getting so muggy and sticky in your bag at night. But in any case, it's getting a little chilly down into the 50s at night, so might want to have something there to keep you just a little warm. Hiker bubble. Where's the hiker bubble? Well, hiker bubble somewhere around central New Hampshire. In some cases, it's actually crossed over into Maine. That's been backed up by the blogs and Instagram and YouTube accounts we've seen of people that have crossed over, and the bubbles that have crossed over. And also, that same information is brought by the wherearethehikers.com website, and they also have there a graphic on the largest percentage of hikers when they finish at Katahdin, and that's typically the second and third week in September. So that's kind of when the biggest part of the bubble summits there at Katahdin. So that's pretty interesting information. That's kind of backed up by where we're seeing the bubble now. Not only the graphics from that website, but also where we're seeing the actual folks on the trail out there. So that website was that information is gleaned from years and years of looking at trail journals and where people are. So it's not actually live information. It's just information that's collected from different data sources. Updates on the trail from through hikers that we are aware of. Nav and Era, they have crossed over into Maine, and they are heading toward the 100-mile wilderness, so they are not too far off from being done. I know that's going to be bittersweet for them. Champ, he's made it to New York, and actually took a break in New York City and went in there amongst all the clean people and all the wonderful sights and sounds and smells of the city. So he's made it back to the trail and continuing north. X, she's in Vermont, and she has gotten most of her winter gear back, and says that the bubble where she's in can definitely feel fall coming on. And if you follow X, you'll notice that she doesn't hold much back out on the trail. She's not necessarily always a PG rated channel, but for the most part she is. But she doesn't, she lets us know how she's feeling at any given time. And so, you get to see a lot of the emotions that she goes through, particularly since baby feed, her mom, had to drop out due to injuries at Harper's Ferry. But she's very, very honest, and so that's really good to see. It's not all rainbows and roses out there, and she does not blow any smoke up anybody's kill. No, it's good to see that. But I asked her about, she's been putting on some additional miles here lately. When she was with her baby feet, they were kind of doing 12-mile days, maybe some 20-mile days, but they were kind of holding back just a little bit, just enjoying the time. And of course, they were kind of young in their hike so far, but not too young. They definitely starting to get their trail legs. But she has really started pouring on the daily miles here lately, and I kind of asked her, how has that worked out with you so far, with you pouring those miles on? And she has that as a strategy for getting to Katahdin and getting up there and maybe getting into Maine and the latter part of New Hampshire, and maybe be able to drop back down in some of the miles, particularly in the whites, where she knows she's going to drop down the miles, because everybody does. But I'm going to go ahead and quote her, because I thought it was a pretty neat quote. She said, "It's a remarkable sort of silent endurance strength rather than powering through it. I'm existing on determination and gratitude now. I'm the happiest I've ever been." Or, "I'm the happiest I've been yet." Well, I just thought that was so such a great quote and such a great way of looking at stuff, because you know, she's grateful for being out on the trail. If you watched in her videos, you can glean that she's just so grateful for being out on the trail, grateful to her family and her beau that's allowed her to be out there on the trail and supported her, and just grateful that she can be in the situation to take this time away from her career and get out there on the trail. So and if she is determined, there's no doubt about that, and she's powered through a lot of stuff. And so it's been really fun and interesting to watch her. And so X, we appreciate that. Appreciate you being honest. And look, as you get closer and closer to Katahdin, we look forward to those emotions and you not holding back as you come up to Katahdin. Wonder Woman, they have crossed over Bigelow Mountain and Avery Peak. Hey Roxy, how you doing, girl? The Dower Duo, they have crossed into Maine. Radiant Joy, she has less than 200 miles to go. Minnesota Hikings, they were in Vermont, and they say the nights are cool and the bugs are getting better. Lolly and Pop are in the Wildcats, and they're doing great. Lala, they have, as anybody would, they've experienced just some sores and everything else, and they're working through that. And so keep powering on there, Lolly and Pop. Anchor, he's up and over Mount Washington. Runa is north of Mount Greylock. Amy and John, they're getting ready to hit the whites, and so they are doing some, got some videos out where they've got some packing strategies and trying to cut back on the weight to get through the whites, and so that's pretty interesting how they're doing that. And Underdog and Magic Might are in Monson, and they are 115 miles left, and they plan to summit August 26th or 27th, depending on the weather. So if I missed your update, I'm sorry about that. If you would like to be included in that update, if you would go over to my Facebook page and send me an IM to keep that private so that we don't put exactly out where your position is. You can send me an instant message and make sure we get you in the next update there. Off the trail, we have Zona from Arizona. She's off due to a hip injury. She tried to work through that. It's very difficult for people to get off the trail, and they just don't want to leave the trail. And even people that have summited and gotten off the trail. If you look at people like Wrongway, he's back on the trail. If you look at folks like Hawk, and we'll talk about in a minute, he's back on the trail. Zona, she got off after trying to work through that hip injury with zeros. It just didn't work out, and so she has had to go home. And Postman, he is off right now doing ankle injury. Tendonitis, he has tried to power through that for about 700 miles, and it's just gotten to the point where he doesn't want to do any type of permanent damage, so he's got an appointment with a doctor. Okay, Roxy. And then speaking of Hawk, he's back, part of the Hikers Back on the Trail section. He is back on the trail after his father passed away. Condolences to you, Hawk, and a lot of folks and myself have expressed that, and we're glad to see you back on the trail, working through things and just continuing your yo-yo and picking up where you left off. So good luck on that yo-yo. Try not to pass all the Sobo hikers on your way back down to Springer. Okay, Roxy, let's get down here. News from the trail. As we've talked about before, Mom, the Trail Angel has been putting out water caches in the Pennsylvania area, and he's going to continue to do so for Sobo hikers. He is around Lehigh Gap, Little Gap, Wind Gap, near Route 121. He will be pulling his water caches from Sam's Gap. If you want to kind of go back and review my discussion about water caches from my last week's video, you can. But there seems to be a saboteur in the area up there. He went to collect his water caches. He had a run-in with somebody there that has an issue with his water caches, and he had also found some small holes in his jugs, and he was concerned that something may be introduced to him that should not be there. So he is pulling those. So unfortunately, that is an area that really needs a water cache, because just south of there is some springs that are not known to be great springs. And then also just south of there is the contaminated area where you, due to heavy water contamination from a mine, that you can't utilize the water there. So hopefully he will get that worked out between the Ridge Runner there and the ATC, to where he can come back and do that later. But in any case, you can't expect water there at Sam's Gap in Pennsylvania. The bear reports pretty much remain the same. If you're Sobo, down at Cosby Knob in Smokies, Cosby Knob shelter is closed. That's a kind of pretty important shelter because it's right in the middle of a long run. So there's 7 miles on each side of that shelter where there is no shelter. So that's 14 miles that you have to do, plus whatever it was from the shelter before that. So 14 miles is pretty doable. However, depending on how your flip-flop is, it can wind up shortening your trip to where you have to do like a 5-mile day or a 8-mile day on one side of Cosby Knob shelter. So most people like to pound in the miles, and so it would wind up being a 20-mile day in the Smokies. So if you're up for that, have at it. Smokies is tough to do 20 miles in. Believe me, I came back from there a couple weeks ago, and where I have done 20 miles in other sections, there was not a chance prayer that I would be able to do 20 miles there in the Smokies, particularly just coming off the couch. So, but all the shelters in there have cautions on them about bear activity. That is the only one, Cosby Knob, is actually closed through there. Then, of course, we have up through the Shannons, we have bear alerts up there, but we don't have any closures to speak of. And then also in Grayson Highlands, we have some bear alerts down there. And in Vermont, we had some bear alerts around Kidgore Shelter, which is mile 1627, Story Spring Shelter, which is mile 1631, and Stratton Pond Shelter, which is mile 1642. So be careful for those places up there. Make sure we're practicing good food management as far as not cooking in the shelters and not keeping your packs in the shelters with food in them. And I would say hang your packs if they've got cables at all, and then of course be sure you hang your bear bags. I had a notice, somebody sent me a notice there of that they're going to be doing trail magic, and this is starting on Monday and Tuesday, August 19th to the 20th. Mad Rat, or Mad Ratter1 as he's known on his Instagram account, and then also Green Flight on his YouTube account. They're from Florida, but they're going to be traveling up there with their sons. So they plan on setting some trail magic up at Route 4, which is south of Wrangley Lakes, Maine. It's the Piazza Rock trailhead there near the Piazza Rock shelter. And they'll be having things like water and Cliff Bars and snacks and fruit. And if you're Nobo, you're probably sick and tired of Cliff Bars, but Sobos might not be tired of them right now. But he'll be glad to take in your trash and help you up any way you can. So that's somewhere around mile marker 1969, Nobo in Maine. So we appreciate Mad Rat and Mad Ratter doing that up there, and anybody else that's a trail angel doing trail magic, we greatly appreciate that. Well, folks, we just appreciate all of you. Looking forward to continue the season, looking forward to the rest of the summits out there. Be sure and send me those summits announcements and the photos with that. And as always, appreciate you, and we'll see you out there.